Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right, everybody. Thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin' Robbie Billups. This is the weekly comic book review. It's the show where I read a lot of comic books and I let you know what I thought about them. But first, I got a couple of announcements to make. First of all, Wednesday, January 10th, this new comic book day, join us here live on the channel at noontime Central. That's 12 p.m. Central. We're going to be having a conversation with one of my favorite creators in the business right now, Rom V. So you don't want to miss out, and if you did miss out on the previous conversations, check them out. Just look up Pop Culture Philosophers Rom V, and you'll find some other conversations that we've had with him. But be sure to be here January 10th, Wednesday, 12 p.m. Central Time for another conversation with Rom V. I'm super excited. It's always fun to have Rom on the channel. He's going to be talking about some of his upcoming work. We're going to be talking about his Detective Comics run. I'm going to ask him a lot of questions about rare flavors and maybe even ask for some hair care tips. Anyway, so that's what we got going on. Also, we are in the process, I should say, of upgrading the studio. Now, we have put together an Amazon wish list of some essential items that we need for the studio. That list is going to be in the description down below. If you feel inclined to help, please feel free to purchase something on the list, send it our way, or just continue watching these videos, liking, sharing, subscribing. That's all the support we need. We really do appreciate everything. All right. Now that all of that is out of the way, it's time to get to the weekly comic book review. And we always start with the pick of the week, and this week's pick of the week, Transformers issue number 4. Y'all, I'm telling you, there are a lot of good books out this week. This is a very strong second new comic book day of 2024. But there is something so exhilarating to me about Transformers. It's just blowing me away, right? It is filled with action. It is filled with tragedy. It is filled with charm and heart. And it's just got some of the most badass, dynamic, explosive, superhero-y, mainstreamy artwork that you'll ever see. Daniel Warren Johnson is a revelation to this property. I have read plenty of Transformer books in the past. I haven't read them all, but I've read a lot. And I've never, ever been this into one as I am right now. This is another fantastic issue. It's got amazing artwork. The characters, whether they're Transformers or human, are all completely 100% compelling, incredibly fleshed out. The true nature of who Optimus Prime is really shines through. The true nature of who Starscream is really shines through. And you got a nice, fun ending where they start kind of revealing where some of these other Transformers may have been. I'm not going to spoil it, but I will tell you this. This is amazing. Oop, that was kind of a spoilery page because you also got some other Transformers that we haven't seen yet popping up in this issue, and I literally jumped out of my seat and got so freaking... Okay, I didn't literally jump out of my seat. I used literally as figuratively there, so forgive me for that. I figuratively jumped out of my seat when one of my favorite Transformers just shows up to save the day. It's awesome. The last issue had Optimus Prime losing an arm, taking that arm, and beating the crap out of Skywarp with it. It is absolutely phenomenal. But this book's got heart. This book, unlike any other Transformers media out there, whether it's comics, movies, animated series, or anything like that, I have never cared about the human characters in Transformers, especially the way I do now. This is absolutely top-notch stuff. It feels like it's got high stakes. It feels epic in scope. It is masterfully told visually and through the dialogue. Absolutely a top-notch book, bringing excitement, bringing a level of excitement back into mainstream comics that I have not had personally, probably since Scott Snyder did the Justice League run. I loved and ate all of that stuff up. This awakens the fanboy inside of me 100%. I love this book. So Transformers number 4, that's the pick of the week. We also got Swan Songs here with issue number 6. This is the final issue of W. Maxwell Prince's Swan Songs. They've each been self-contained, one-and-done stories that are all about the end of something. We've had the end of the world, the end of the end of the world, the end of a marriage, the end of a sentence. We've had so many different takes on this, and each issue is a different style. Each issue is innovative, just like W. Maxwell Prince does on Ice Cream Man. Each issue is filled with meaning, relevance, and innovation. And this one is no exception. And this is even a tie-in / crossover with Ice Cream Man, kind of like Ha Ha was that W. Maxwell Prince did last year, I believe. But this is, of course, influenced by Shel Silverstein. You can definitely tell that with the cover. And it is a book of poems. It's a book of poems with some illustrations from Martin Morazzo, who is the artist on Ice Cream Man. And at first, this may seem kind of obnoxious. Oh, it's not actually a comic book. It's just some poems and some images. But the way that it ties together the entire theme of what Swan Songs is and what it's about and what it means to be a book about endings, I absolutely was floored by it. I thought it was great. It had this irreverent kind of sense of humor to it. It's very gnarly. It's not going to be for everybody because it's dealing with some heavy stuff, but it's doing it in a very whimsical kind of way. And it's just absolutely astounding what W. Maxwell Prince does. It seems like every time this dude is developing and conceiving a concept for a comic book single issue, he's trying to think so far outside of the box, he's got to do something different. Sometimes it hits amazingly. Most times it hits brilliantly. Sometimes it doesn't really necessarily work. This one really worked. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I love the homage. I love the artwork. I love the period at the end of the sentence of Swan Songs. And that's what this is, the end of a sentence because of the whole end of the side, or it's end of a sidewalk. Anyway, I messed that whole metaphor up. Swan Songs, number 6. Absolutely fantastic. I loved it. Bloodrik is here with issue number 2. This is from Andrew Kroenke. I really liked the first issue, and I loved the second issue just as much. It was pretty much more of the same. This is about a barbarian-type character who's always on the search for food. It kind of sounds like Gru, kind of sounds like Conan, but it's got its own kind of flavor and vibe to it. 2 stories in each issue. One is an ongoing story in the 3 issues. It's a 3-issue series. So one of them is like the overarching story, and the other one is just like a little side story, right? But absolutely cool, really fun stuff, and the artwork is what really sells it here. The artwork is great. If you're a fan of Conan the Barbarian, you definitely need to check out Bloodrik, and if you're just a fan of super gnarly, awesome, big, muscly dude artwork, check out Bloodrik, because that book is freaking awesome. Then we've got The Sacrificers here with issue number 6. The Sacrificers has been killing it. This is an absolutely fantastic issue. Yet again, Sacrificers could easily have been a very predictable story, but that's not what they're doing here. They keep taking this story in different directions that I don't anticipate, and I love it when a writer like Rick Remender's doing that, taking my expectations and subverting them and doing something different, doing their own thing with it. And the artwork by Max Fiumara is absolutely stellar, astounding, exceptionally well done. Sacrificers continues to amaze. Then we got Fishflies, issue number 4 from Jeff Lemire. He is able to use bittersweet melancholy in comics like nobody else. All these Jeff Lemire books, especially the ones that are illustrated by Jeff Lemire, and this one is as well in expert fashion. I know that his artwork, I should say, doesn't appeal to everybody, but it 100% appeals to me. This story has got a lot of it reminds me a little bit of things like classic Universal monster movies like Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, some of those kind of vibes. It reminds me of slice of life type stuff, but it's got that horror tinge to it that feels very classic and old school, and the story is really coming together. All these disparate elements are starting to really make one cohesive whole, and they're adding new elements into it, which just ramps up the intriguing nature of this series. I love it. I think it's absolutely astounding what Jeff Lemire can do just solely on his own, on what's the word? On a display here in Fishflies issue number 4. Then we've got Crave number 2. First of all, I almost made this the cover of the week. I didn't because there's another cover that I actually really, really like even more than this, but I almost made this the cover of the week again, or a cover of the week. And again, the whole reason why is it's a butt, and that it's a sexy butt, it's a sexy image, it's awesome. This is a hot, steamy book. So this book is about an app called Crave, and it unleashes itself on a college campus. And basically you tell the app what you crave, or should I say, whom you crave, and the app will tell you the steps to take to get what you want. Or it will also tell you if there's no chance at all. So after just one issue, everybody on this campus is just screwing. They're all just screwing each other, having sex, having fun. It's steamy, it's hot, it's like, whoo. You know, it's super cold right now. I know a lot of people, it's snowing, it's crazy, it's storming, it's blizzarding. Blizzarding? Anyway, I know that stuff's going on. If you need some heat in your life, read Crave. And that cover's awesome. Maria loved it. Absolutely loved that book. Thought it was great. Blood Commandment is here with issue number 3 of 4, the penultimate issue. I'm loving this vampire tale. It's a vampire story that doesn't feel overly familiar, doesn't feel overly tropey, right? Szymon Kudranski does a great job with the artwork. It's dark, it's noirish, it's told in a very fantastic fashion. And the dialogue, there are pages where there's a lot of dialogue on the page, and if you just look at it, it might look like that seems like that might be a bit much, but the flow of the book actually works. There's plenty of pages. It's not, and we had a discussion with Dan Waters about this, it's not the amount of words. When I say a book is overly verbose, usually it means it's bogged down. The flow of the artwork, the flow and pace of the story is bogged down by the overly verbose nature of the words. That is not the case here, because when you get through one of those more wordy pages, it leads usually right into a very quick-paced few pages that come after it. I love the pacing in this book. It's a vampire story, but it's more about family. It's more about love and loss, and it's absolutely fantastic, in my opinion. Blood Commandment, issue number 3. Szymon Kudranski is prolific as fuck. I'm just going to tell you that. Kaya is here with issue number 14. Wes Craig's been doing a great job. The art in this book is so freaking cool. It's got lots of room to breathe. The story moves at a really solid pace. This is about a young woman whose half-brother is like the chosen one who's going to save the humans from this evil robot empire. Right? But now they're on a side quest. They're on a side mission to save another person, and that's what's being dealt with, I should say, in issue number 14 of Kaya. This has been one of the best comics on shelves. I mentioned it in my top 20 video, top 20 of 2023, and it continues to completely get me engaged and compelled. I love that book. Then we got King Spawn here with issue number 29. Spawn has been on a long walk to the throne of hell. This is more of that walk, but actually one of the more poignant moments I've ever read in a Spawn book happens here. It's a little reminiscent of the whole footsteps thing. You know, the footsteps on the beach, the whole... we've all seen this, right? Usually a lot of people will have it in their bathrooms back in the day. I don't see it as much as I used to, but the whole like footsteps on the beach, there are 2 sets, but then God abandoned you or whatever, but no, that's where I carried you. It's kind of reminiscent of that, but it's actually very touching. And like I said, one of the most poignant moments I've ever read in a Spawn book is on display here. Javier Fernandez's artwork is absolutely awesome. It's some cool, gnarly stuff. Let me show you a really cool double-page spread, because every Spawn issue has one of those cool double-page spreads. I love the book. I love the artwork. I like that we're finally getting there. And he's in a long walk to the throne of hell, which makes me think of the Marilyn Manson Sneaker Pimp song, Long Hard Road Out of Hell, because it's a long, hard road out of hell. Anyway, not singing tonight. even though I want to. King Spawn, issue number 29. I like it. And guess what? Guess what, y'all? It gets the smell of the week. It's got a really nice smell. Smells like comics. Smells a little tangy, actually. But King Spawn, issue number 29. Love it. Then we got Midlife, or How to Hero at 50, issue number 4. This is about a dude who is in the footsteps of his father. He works for the fire department, but his father was killed in a fire, so he's deathly afraid of fire. In the end of the first issue, he finds out that he has this invulnerability to fire, and maybe he can even control it. Now, there's a government agency that's kind of hunting him down, and all of that is like ramping up right now. I really like this book. It feels very real and natural. The dialogue is so real and natural. It feels like conversations me and my friends have. I really like the artwork. I think it's got a nice dynamic kind of flow to it. I like the coloring. I really like this book. I don't hear a lot of people talking about it. It doesn't seem to sell too well. But Midlife is a really solid, down-to-earth superhero comic that has very naturalistic dialogue attached to it. Petrolhead is here with issue number 3. Issue number 1 of this series that's set in the not-too-distant future. We have created robots that drive cars in races. It's like wacky races, but with robots. But now we have decommissioned these robots, and they're not allowed to race anymore, so a lot of them have been retired. They're out living shitty lives or something like that. The first issue made my pick of the week, but the second issue I thought kind of took a little step down in momentum, but it rears right back up in issue number 3. I really got to highlight Pi Par, who is the artist, colorist, and letterer of this book. The flow, the sense of action, the sense of intensity in this book is so freaking well done, and it's incredibly vibrant and colorful as well. This is just such a freaking amazing book, and we're building out that world, we're building up these characters, and the story's becoming more engaging than it did in issue number 2, and elaborating on that concept. Over at Marvel, we got Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 1. The brand new Ultimate Universe is here. Hickman's been building this up with Ultimate Invasion and the Ultimate Universe one-shot. And, you know, Ultimate Invasion didn't really work for me, but the Ultimate Universe one-shot I liked a little bit better. Started getting kind of a sense of what Hickman was actually doing with this new Ultimate Universe. Basically, in a nutshell, the Maker has shown up into another reality, and the Maker is the evil Reed Richards from the original Ultimate Universe, okay? He went to another reality. He said, screw the 616, because that's where he's been. So he goes into another reality, and he decides he wants to control that reality. So he takes these steps, goes back in time, and makes sure that basically the Marvel Universe doesn't happen, but the Maker Universe does. But now the Maker's been kind of dealt with temporarily, so now the Age of Heroes can resume. So this is a Peter Parker who's like in his mid-30s. He's got a wife, he's got 2 kids, he's got family, he's got job, he's got all that stuff, but he's not Spider-Man. Because 20 years ago, he was supposed to be bitten by this radioactive spider, but it didn't happen because the Maker prevented it from happening. Well, what happens when Peter Parker gets bit by the spider at age 35? That's what this book is. Lots of surprises. I don't even want to show you the artwork inside, which is amazing. Marco Cicchetto. It's great. It's cool. Doesn't have a lot of action scenes in it, but the dialogue is real. The characters and their interaction is very down to earth, and I really liked this book, and it was a very intriguing take on a very new and fresh reboot of the Ultimate Spider-Man book, and I loved it. I thought it was really, really solid. Fall of the Powers of 10. No, Rise of the Powers of 10. It was Fall of the House of X. I'm so confused because on the corner box it says Fall of the House of X. Right here it says Rise of the Powers of 10. This is Rise of the Powers of 10. Did they mess up the corner box here? Anyway, this is part of the end of the Krakoan era. I'm happy that it's ending. I haven't been plugged in that much, but there are some interesting ideas here. It's written by Kieran Gillen with artwork by R.B. Silva. The artwork it's okay. I've seen better work from Silva. I've seen better work from Gillen, but some of the ideas are there. We're finally getting back into the Dominion stuff, and maybe I need to go back and reread The Immortal X-Men by Kieran Gillen. Y'all let me know. Should I just read this and just let it be done and then see what happens after the fact? I'm telling you this, it was just okay. It didn't completely wow me. It didn't make me want to come up here and say, y'all, the X-Men books are good. We should have been reading them this whole time since Hickman left. No, I still don't think that, but at least now they're ending it. That means they know where they're going at some point, and it feels finally like they do have an end game. I mean, they should, because that's literally what this is the end game of the Krakoan era. Then we got giant-sized Spider-Man. So this is the 50th anniversary of Marvel doing giant-size specials for the first time. So each month, you're going to get a new giant-size special. For January, it's Miles Morales Spider-Man. For February, it's Fantastic Four. For March, it's Spider-Gwen, so on and so forth. So this is a Miles Morales story that is directly plugged into the ongoing run by Cody Ziglar, even though I have heard rumors that that run is ending very quickly and shortly right after Gang War. But this is a story that kind of takes place a little bit before Gang War. And actually, there's a new issue of Miles Morales Spider-Man out this week. It's issue number 15, both written by Cody Ziglar. I read this one first, then read this one. Felt like I should have read this one first before this one, but actually felt like I should have read this one like 2 issues ago. So the timing by Marvel is a little bit wrong, especially releasing both of these books the same day. Like, you could have spaced this out and planned this out a little bit better. Giant-Size Spider-Man, though, is a team-up with Miles Morales and Dylan Brock's Venom. And it's exciting, I guess, enough. It's interesting enough, but it's just kind of okay. But it does set up a team-up that Miles has already been dealing with in the pages of his own book, Miles Morales Spider-Man, issue 15. What I liked about this issue, and in the last issue I said, it's a shame because Cody Ziglar was doing such a great job with this character of Miles Morales and even making the character of Brooklyn, or Brooklyn, a character itself. But it felt like this run never really got to tell its own story because it was always forced into a Blade crossover, into a Carnage crossover, now with the Gang War crossover. But in issue 15, we start getting back and tying those things in from the first arc and making what feels to be like a more cohesive whole for Miles Morales. The only problem, though, is Cody Ziglar is really on with modern dialogue and slang, and that's fine, but everybody kind of talks the same way. Bet. You know what I'm saying? So that kind of bothers me. Blade is here with issue number 7, a team up with Blade and the Hulk, and it's the Hulk from the Philip Kennedy Johnson run, which is a perfect version of the Hulk to team up with Blade. So we kind of veer away from the main thread of the story to have this little side quest in the pages of Blade, but it works. Brian Hill has done the unthinkable. He's got a Blade book that's good for 7 issues. I cannot believe it. That's not something that usually happens in our modern era. I'm a huge Blade fan. He's one of my favorite characters ever, and that was even before I saw the Wesley Snipes movie in 1998 that cemented this character as one of my favorites. But this has been my favorite modern run and take on Blade. I mean, this is my favorite Blade book since, like, let me be honest. Let me think about this. This is my favorite Blade book since Marv Wolfman and Gene Colan's Tomb of Dracula. That's pretty astounding to me. They actually make Blade cool. They make it work. I've always questioned, why can you not take the Marv Wolfman Blade and the Wesley Snipes Blade and combine them together in something that's very exciting? It seems like it should be easy. Me personally, I have a 5-year plan for Blade. So Marvel, when Brian's done, you holler at me. You holler at me. And I did not read this. I'm done with the Gang War tie-ins. I'm going to read Amazing Spider-Man. I'm going to read Miles because I already read those 2 titles. But I'm done with all these tie-ins. So I did not read Gang War Daredevil. But look at that Kevin Eastman cover. That's dope. But it's not the cover of the week. Let's jump over to DC. And from DC, we have Action Comics 1061. This is the start of Jason Aaron's run on Action Comics. Now, Philip Kennedy Johnson did a fine job with this title. I do feel like his arcs were a little bit overwrought, a little bit overlong. So I'm excited for some fresh blood to come in here and do something different. This is Jason Aaron doing what Jason Aaron does best, which is awesome freaking comics. And Jason Aaron's had a hell of a year. 2023 was a super solid year for him, and now he's over at DC, and I feel like it's reinvigorating him. This is a really solid Superman book. It's a Bizarro story. It's called I, Bizarro. It's got amazing artwork from John Timms. Big, bombastic, explosive, and it's a Bizarro story that's a little bit different than most of the Bizarro stories that we've seen. It is filled to the brim with high impact action, intriguing ideas, and kind of taking old concepts and putting a new spit and polish and shine to them. I thought this was a really fantastic, intriguing, and compelling book. I really liked the ending of it. I'm super sold. Jason Aaron has been killing it at DC right now. A couple issues into Batman Offworld, one issue into Action Comics. And I said this, I mentioned this on the DC Sneak Peek, or actually I've been mentioning it on Rockin' Robbie Lives, that I've already read this book like a month ago, and I told everybody, check this one out. You're going to love it. The artwork is great. The character use of Bizarro is absolutely astounding to me. I've been saying astounding a lot tonight. These books are really good this week. So Action Comics 1061, definitely worth checking out. Titans Beast World #4. This is an I issue of Teen Titans. Yvonne Reese has left this title. He's gone off to Ghost Machine, doing his thing over there. This book has lost a little bit of its shine, a little bit of its sleekness because of the art. The art's okay, it's serviceable, but it's just kind of dull and not as dynamic as Yvonne Reese's work was. I used to call him Ivan Reese, and then I heard Tom Taylor in a conference call call him Yvonne, and I was like, of course his name's Yvonne. What's wrong with me? But anyway, Titans Beast World issue #4. It has some moments, but overall it kind of feels almost like a filler issue in the midst of this event. So, I don't know. Batman and Robin #5, though, I really like this book. Joshua Williamson did a great job in the previous arc of introducing a new character, Shush, who's kind of like a derivative character of Hush, but she's not really working for Hush, she's working for somebody else. Now, I don't want to reveal that if you haven't read issue #4 yet, but it is a more menacing take on what has recently been a neutered Batman villain. But this issue in particular deals with the fact that Damian thinks Shush is his principal at his high school. So it's Damian at high school trying to go undercover and figure out if the principal is actually an evil villain. And it's really cool stuff. The artwork was just kind of alright, didn't really work for me. A very big tonal clash from the artwork that we've gotten in previous issues, but the story was great. And Josh Williamson really understands the character of Damian Wayne. He proved that with his Robin series, and that's continuing in the pages of Batman and Robin. Then we got The Outsiders, issue #3, Jackson Lansing, Colin Kelly, pretty much doing a sequel to Planetary, firmly set in the DC universe, focusing on Luke Fox and Kate Kane Batwoman and a new version of the Drummer. This is very much in the vein of what Warren Ellis was doing with Planetary. This feels like that. Now, in this issue, Luke and Kate wind up in the collective unconscious of a multiverse of Batman. Wild, cool concepts, really great structure, really intriguing mystery being built up. If you are a fan of Planetary, read this book. And if you've never read Planetary, what's wrong with you? Read Planetary. It's one of the greatest comics of all time. Check out our Comics Revisited on it. If I'm not convincing you right now, you need to read Planetary. You need that in your life. Then we got Green Lantern here with issue #7. Jeremy Adams has been killing it on this Green Lantern book. The character of Hal Jordan is back on Earth. He's dealing with new problems. He's also dealing with old problems. It's kind of like similar to, or should I say, it's familiar to things that we've gotten before, but also kind of different in this issue. We step back and fill in some of the gaps between the last Hal Jordan run and this run. So we find out exactly what happened to Kilowog. We find out why Hal's not part of the Corps anymore. We find out how the United Planets are kind of manipulating the Green Lantern Corps. We find all that stuff out in a really interesting and intriguing fashion that also sets up what's to come. If Jeremy Adams, if his run on Flash is any indication of where we're going with this as far as the level of consistency and excitement, we are still in for more to come and great treats in the pages of Green Lantern. Wesley Dodds Sandman issue number 4, best issue of this one yet. Really solidified. I'm glad I stuck this one through. You know, sometimes I read a superhero book, I read issue 1, and I fall out of it. Spider-Gwen Smash number 1 I thought was decent, but I didn't pick up number 2 this week. There's other things that I just kind of drop out of quick, but I'm glad I stuck with Wesley Dodds Sandman, because the first issue didn't really wow me, didn't really woo me, but issue number 2 I liked a little bit more, issue 3 I liked a little bit more, now issue number 4, I'm loving it. It's all coming together. A Golden Age story set in this new Golden Age, putting a new light on the character of Wesley Dodds, the Sandman, and I really appreciate it. And Riley Rossmo's artwork, perfect for this book. Perfect for this book. So let's talk about Massive, aka Whatnot Publishing. We got Zorro. What is it? Man of the Dead? This just says Zorro. Where's the subtitle? Zorro, Man of the Dead, issue number 1 from Sean Gordon Murphy. This was just very recently super successfully kickstarted. Massive is publishing it. I got that cool variant cover from Matteo Scalera. And yeah, that's the cover of the week right there. The Matteo Scalera Zorro, Man of the Dead. So this is playing with the Zorro legend and the Zorro myth, but it's doing it in an intriguing and a modern way. Zorro is a legend, right? And now there is a new vigilante who's inspired by the legend of Zorro, and you find out the whole story here. It's Sean Gordon Murphy doing what Sean Gordon Murphy does, and he's playing with the legend and the story and the mythos of Zorro, and he's doing it exceptionally well. The artwork is great, the nuance is there. It's an interesting take on the concept of Zorro, and I was engaged all the way through. He just recently did Plot Holes for Massive, and I thought Plot Holes was really cool. Some cool concepts, but it kind of got bogged down at times. This one, though, scintillating pace. Absolutely top-notch. Definitely check that one out. Then we got Disney Villains, Cruella de Vil, issue number 1. This is written by Sweeney Blue with artwork by Marana Puglia. The artwork is fine. I would have liked it if Sweeney would have done it herself, but the writing is really solid. So if you're a Disney fan, Dynamite's been doing a really kick-ass job with these Disney books, right? So this is Cruella de Vil's story post 101 Dalmatians. She's exonerated of her crimes. She's going back out there, but the pet community ain't gonna let her have it. It's light, it's breezy, it's easy, it's beautiful, it's L'Oreal, it's gorgeous. Easy, breezy, beautiful cover girl. That's not L'Oreal, is it? Anyway, this is really good. If you're a fan of 101 Dalmatians and the character of Cruella de Vil, definitely check this out. I really enjoyed it. Then we got Alice Cooper, issue number 4, written by Rodney Barnes. Cover of the week contender there, but I had to give it to Matteo Scalera with that Zorro book. But I really like this book. It's not going to change your life, but it's fun. And that's exactly what comics need to be sometimes. Maybe not every comic needs to reach for the heights. Some comics need to understand exactly what they are. Rodney Barnes knows what this book is. It's Alice Cooper versus the devil to figure out who's the best musician out there. The Satan has been taking out all of these musicians because he wants to be the best musician on earth, and now he's in a final showdown with Alice Cooper. Sounds ridiculous? It is. But it works, and it works exceptionally well. Then we got Usagi Yojimbo, Fire and Snow, or Ice and Snow. Usagi Yojimbo, Ice and Snow, issue number 4, the penultimate issue of the series. Is Stan Sakai doing what Stan Sakai's been doing for almost 40 years, which is just telling kick-ass, badass samurai stories about a rabbit named Usagi Yojimbo. And if you've never read Usagi Yojimbo, you need to. Go ahead and get you the Fantagraphics collection. Go ahead and get you the Dark Horse Usagi Saga books. Get caught up if you need to, but you don't have to. Just jump in. Just pick up issue number 1 of this series, and you'll know the vibe and the flow. Now, it's not going to be as refined or as hard-hitting as some of the earlier work from like the Fantagraphics collections or from the early Dark Horse stuff, but it still Stan Sakai doing what he does best. And one of the things he does best is lettering. Hand-lettered, hand-drawn, handcrafted Usagi Yojimbo. Then we've got Unnatural Order issue number 2 from Vault Comics. The first one was the one that they gave comic shops for free. So a lot of people were able to get their hands on issue number 1. I thought issue number 1 was kind of clunky, but it pulled itself back together at the end. Here in issue number 2, excuse me, I was lost. But it's been a little bit since we had the first issue of Unnatural Order. So, granted, there's that. My connection to that book is a little bit lost. I didn't have time to reread the first issue before I read this one. That probably would have benefited. But I will tell you this. As I'm reading this book, about halfway through, it all starts clicking. It all starts working, and it does involve a very intriguing concept and a very interesting end. It's basically like the modern world has been changed into this like Celtic medieval fantasy kind of world, and one dude remembers it, and it took me a minute to kind of get back into the flow of the story, but when I did, I kind of got engaged, and the Val Rodriguez artwork is absolutely stellar. All right, as far as collections go, this one came out this week. It's Fritz Lieber's Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser Omnibus. What is this? I have no idea. This is pre-Hellboy Mike Mignola artwork, inked by Al Williamson. Now, we've seen that before at Gotham by Gaslight, for instance. So, holy cow, go me. I've got a new Mike Mignola book that I've never read, never even heard about, inked by Al Williamson, on the road Mike Mignola is to becoming the artist that we know and love with Hellboy. So this collects the entire Mike Mignola book. But then at the end, it's got stuff by Howard Chaykin, Denny O'Neil. I don't know where that was originally published. It looks Marvel, though. So anyway, first of all, whatever this is, Fritz Lieber, I have no idea who this guy is. Apparently a big, giant fantasy and science fiction writer, a visionary. He won multiple Hugo, Nebula, and World Fantasy Awards, influenced a generation of writers, and his most renowned creations are the swashbuckling Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser stories. Collected here are the adaptations of some of the finest of these tales, including the Hugo and Nebula award-winning Ilmet and Lankmar by comics legends Howard Chaykin, Mike Mignola, Dennis O'Neil, and Al Williamson, Walter Simonson, and more. So that's cool. And there's even a quote on the back here from Mignola that says, "Of all my pre-Hellboy stuff, this is my favorite." So I had to check that out. Was the other stuff from Marvel? This volume collects stories originally published in Fritz Lieber's Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser and Fritz Lieber's Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser, The Cloud of Hate and Other Stories. 73. Okay. That looks like a Marvel book right there. I don't know. Somebody help me out. What is this? I'm excited to have it, but I have no idea. I only picked it up because of the Mignola thing. Because it's pre-Hellboy Mignola, but definitely on his way. So, anyway, let's recap. New Mignola. It's not new. It's not new. It's old Mignola, but it's new to me. Unnatural Order number 2, a little clunky and disconnected at first, but it brought it together. Usagi Yojimbo doing what Usagi Yojimbo do. Alice Cooper, big dumb fun that I'm having fun with. Cruella DeVille, a continuation of her story from the end of 101 Dalmatians. Matteo Scalera's cover on Zorro, Man of the Dead number 1 is the cover of the week, and a really great interpretation of the legend of Zorro by Sean Gordon Murphy. Wesley Dodd's Sandman, best issue of that one yet. Green Lantern setting up some really exciting stuff by going back a little bit. Outsiders just tells me to make y'all read Planetary, and then you'll even appreciate that more. Batman and Robin, perfect characterization of Damian Wayne from Joshua Williamson. Titans Beast World feels a little bit like a filler issue this week. Action Comics is filled with action and intriguing takes on classic characters and superstar characters like Superman and like Bizarro. That Daredevil Gang War Kevin Eastman cover, I love it. Blade teaming up with Hulk, That Blade book's awesome. 2 Miles Morales books this week. One a little bit better than the other. Then we got the fall or the rise of the Powers of 10. It's all right. It's got some intriguing concepts. But we'll see what happens. Ultimate Spider-Man #1, though, really sold me. Petrolhead, better than issue #2. Getting back to the established momentum of issue #1. Midlife, or How to Hero at 50, a very undersung and underappreciated book. King Spawn, The Long Hard Road to the Throne of Hell, with some really nice, and should I say, the most poignant moment in a Spawn book I've ever read, plus the smell of the week right there with that hellish tang. Then we got Kaya here, another undersung, underappreciated book that just soars. Blood Commandment, a fantastic issue of that. Crave, I'm craving this bootylicious cover. That's a steamy book, y'all. It's a steamy book without all the cannibalism from Lovesick. So, at least there's that. Fishflies, Jeff Lemire doing what Jeff Lemire does. Sacrificers continues to impress. Bloodrik, read this if you like Conan. Swan Songs, a very, very satisfying conclusion to this series that's a little bit outside of the box. But the pick of the week is Transformers because it's incredibly well drawn, it's incredibly well paced, it's sequentially well told, it's filled with charm and heart, action, and badassery, and excitement. These Transformers goes to 11 by Daniel Warren Johnson. So there you go. That's what I read. That's what I thought. That's what I'm digging. What are you reading? What are you thinking? What are you digging? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And join us over at patreon.com/PCP if you want to help support this channel and get this video early in the form of a downloadable audio file. It's kind of like a podcast you can just download hours before anybody else gets it visually. Anyway, that's what I thought. So thank you guys so much for all your support. We really do appreciate it here at PCP. I've been Rockin' Robbie Billups. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep on reading. Station. Pop, pop. Psh.